Anakin Skywalker would not like this episode of The Mandalorian. I would argue that this episode has the most callbacks to previous points in Star Wars. I mean, to name a few examples, there's some familiar faces and droids. Not too familiar, but, familiar enough that hardcore fans will remember. There is the planet itself and the natives of the planet as well, that of course kind of come with the territory a little bit, in addition to a very familiar sub-area within that. Sometimes it's a little difficult to be vague in these non-spoiler reviews, but it is definitely worth seeing for yourself and not knowing that information before going in, because the moment that you realize that where Mandalorian is going, it's very exciting. And on top of just all of the excellent callbacks to previous points in Star Wars, this episode does so much right. I definitely thought this episode picked up from last week's, and I did enjoy last week's episode. I don't have any issue with Star Wars taking its sweet time with The Mandalorian. I think it's the opposite of what we've got going on in the sequel trilogy. There's not like a trillion things going on at once. It's one consistent plot, which is like little sub-steps along the way, and it's kind of this journey that we're trying to see him take, and now we know that that journey is to protect Baby Yoda, which...
This is the way.
If this is the way, I am all in on the way. But we see Mando kind of have a little unexpected pit stop in, again, a very familiar area, and that leads him to meet some friends and some not so friends, and then some friends that are not really friends. It's a complicated thing.
You're really cute, but I don't know what you're saying.
And I just thought that this plot flowed very well. I think we got from point A to point B to point C to point D very smoothly. Again, it's nothing that's too overly complicated. It just feels right. And Dave Filoni wrote and directed this episode. It felt like a Dave Filoni episode. There is just so much in the atmosphere and the dialogue and the way that kind of we go about exploring this journey. I felt like it just was very concise, and it wasn't this roundabout kind of way. We get to where we're supposed to go, we get what we're supposed to be doing. Everything is very well orchestrated. And I felt like they handled Baby Yoda very well in this episode too, because I've mentioned before that when you saddle up somebody with a baby, it can kind of create some inconveniences, because the baby either always has to be somewhere, and you always have to account for the baby. And don't get me wrong, I'd die for the baby. I really would. Like I would my own, if I had any of my own. Maybe even more. But I felt like the way they handled Baby Yoda in this was very good. We get a very cool babysitter of sorts, and it feels right. And it's always good to see people just as enthusiastic about Baby Yoda as the audience is, in a way. And I really enjoy that, because I feel like, there's no way that everyone in this Star Wars universe is a bunch of edgelords. Like, somebody's heart also has to be melting besides ours. Although Mando's is definitely melting behind that mask. We don't get to see his facial expressions. And it was just really good to see Baby Yoda sort of had his own little thing he was supposed to be doing, and he had, of course, his cute little moments. I'm sure he'll be another meme. But Mando kind of had a separate journey in this one, and he was doing his thing, what he had to do. It was like he was a father, and he was providing for his young. And he gets what he has to do, and he gets this job where they have to find somebody, because Mando is still a bounty hunter through and through, and he's the best at his job, as most Mandalorians are, and just how he works with others, which is funny, because one thing we've kind of learned about Mando is that he's actually very good at working with other people, and it kind of makes you wonder why he doesn't choose to do that. But of course we have his scarred past that we've learned in previous episodes. I probably could have done for a little bit of, a little sprinkling of backstory. I'm just very curious where this is going, in the sense of like his backstory and then just pulling in the Empire and everything like that. I know a lot of people are also just as anxious about that, but I think that we are on a great track here. And this episode felt lively enough, and it just felt enthralling. It had me on the edge of my seat. I was very anxious where this was going to go. I thought we were getting a cliffhanger, and then we sort of did. Like, there's somebody coming. Like, something is coming. There's a lot of theories that it's Boba Fett. This hasn't been confirmed or denied yet, so I feel like this is safe territory to explore. I don't think it is. If it is, great. I won't spoil it, but great. I I don't think it's Boba Fett. I really don't. I think that it's going to be someone big enough. You know, they're keeping it enough of a mystery that it's going to be a big reveal, I think. I don't know if it's going to be a big reveal in terms of, like, something as mind-blowing as Boba Fett coming back and bringing him back to life. I wouldn't be opposed to it. They'd have to explain it and everything like that and show a Sarlacc pit maybe in this series. That would be pretty cool. It's not far-fetched. I don't think it is. I just think that in terms of where this story is, I could see them going in a different direction. Maybe something that's a big deal to hardcore Star Wars fans, but not something I think as mainstream as Boba Fett being brought back in. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, I would not be opposed to it. If the story is there, then it's there. I just don't want Boba Fett to overshadow the Mandalorian and this great character that we've got so far. I mean, you know, we don't really go in on his character as much as I'd like in this episode, but we do have some cool moments with him. He has a lot more personality now, which I think is really cool. It peeks through that armor. I'm still actively waiting to see where this is going with his backstory and all that good stuff. But we have 3 episodes left. And 3 episodes in this season, in this like 8-episode structure, is just so much time to cover. And it doesn't feel like that. Time flies when I'm watching this series. I love it. I'm so excited for the next one. Let me know what you guys think. May the Force be with you. Have a great day.
What's cuter, Baby Yoda or a porg?
Baby Yoda.
Wait, what?
Look, I'm not a big fan of the porgs. Thank you. We worked for 6 months on The Last Jedi, and in every interview, what about the porgs? I was like, the porgs were there for a day. I was there every day for 6 months.